the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to visit Xi Jinping of China in a day or two. But I want to focus on a different angle here. I will definitely come back to this. I want to ask a question to Dr. Nasser in the studio. We know that Donald Trump's positioning and posturing game is so important to understand geopolitics. Recently in this month, he's had a very drastic relationship with Iran, once bolstering that protester death toll from 2,000 to 5,000 to now a staggering of 31,000. Where is this figure, and how are they controlling this figure? As the Iranian side, according to the news, the Iranian side wants to reach a deal. In an interview with the news agency Axios, Trump said the situation is in flux, citing the arrival of what he described a big armada. So he was talking about a flight carrier or a huge ship that is able to carry out strikes inside mainland Iran. And of course, Donald Trump is now saying that they want to make a deal, and they called on numerous occasions and they want to talk. He's of course referring to the Iranian counterpart. We were suggesting and we were theorizing that this month may be the month where we see incursion into Venezuela as well as Iran following the events. I want your analysis regarding US and Iran relations.
Thank you, Pantho, and warm regards to my co-panelists and other viewers. The first quarter of the 21st century ended just last December, and we are in the first month of the second quarter of this century. And the last century started with the strikes on Twin Tower, and that generated the war on terror from the USA side. And from that onwards, we have observed many of the activities of the USA in different countries. And in this series, this January started with sudden strike on Venezuela and just capturing the president himself, which was unexpected, not acceptable, and not at all could be tolerated by any civilized society. But Donald Trump has done it. And within his country, you see, in the month of January, there had been 2 killings and of his own people, own citizen. He is trying to make peace all over the world. Now, at one side, he has made a board of peace for the Israel issue, where the 7 countries, including Saudi Arabia, also joined yesterday, and many other countries, including Russia, also have shown interest to join that. So that is the initiative by the Donald Trump for the peace negotiation in Gaza, and the last dead body of the Israelis were shifted yesterday from Gaza to Bed. But what is the gain of the Palestinians? What they have got? If you talk about just 5 days before, 5 journalists were killed from the strike from the Israeli side.
Correct.
So for their gain, for their minimum livelihood, for their child education, even the food for the children is now at stake. It cannot go smoothly. So in one hand, he is talking about making peace worldwide, including the talking is going on in Doha also for the peace in Ukraine and Russia sector. But his own people are being dying. His intervention in Venezuela is being strongly criticized, and his initiative within the country is also criticized. On the other hand, he has threatened Iran for strike anytime, and Iran also has given a very big shout that, okay, I am ready. If you want to strike, strike and see and face the consequence. So that shout probably again taken aback from the US side. Donald Trump is very tricky. He just a few hours back, he has ordered one of the border guard official in Minneapolis to come back from the province to the his headquarters, who was very influential, who used to come in the social media against that immigrants' activities, others. America by born is a country of immigrants. Christopher Columbus was not an American.
He was a Spaniard.
Yes. So from that one onwards, it raised and has come up to this stage. When this Christopher Columbus went to America, he was in fact looking for this land, Indian subcontinent, because we were at that time rich. we are leading the world culture, we are leading the world economy. From that, and they had been putting on the skin of the animals that time, and we used to use the fine clothing like the muslin saris. So that was our culture, that was our richness, that was our tradition, and they were putting on at that time with the cowboy hat and the dresses made of raw skin. From that side, now they have come to the driving seat, and gradually whole world is being captured by him, we can say. Now, probably the capture of Venezuela, and later on it could be in Iran, probably that was the plan, because these are the two countries supplying maximum crude oil to China. And China is the main target of US, now we all know, from economy side, from military side, from any other angle you point out, China is the main target of the USA. And the backbone of the China's economy is the crude oil from Venezuela and the Iran. And both were targeted by the US administration, President administration Donald Trump. But Venezuela, he could made it. And in this studio, I said before also, if he could capture president of the North Korea, we could give him the credit. If he could capture Chinese president, we could give him the credit. He has captured the president of Venezuela. I don't know how but he could afford to do this, and how the Americans are accepting it. America has become such a country to capture a president of Venezuela. It is not expected from the US president of an US president. And yes, in Iran, as we all know, they are not declaring, but they had at least some capabilities for nuclear warhead. So probably that is the reason Iran was not disturbed. Rather, now a new chapter is going to open with, as you have rightly said, there are some talking going on for a negotiation or a new era between the USA and Iran.
Of course, that's a brilliant analysis from Professor Shibli Islam in the studio. There are some important details regarding this meet that I want to come as well. The two leaders will be flanked by companies such as HSBC, Standard Chartered, Schroders, and the London Stock Exchange Group, pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca, car manufacturer Jaguar Land Rover, energy provider Octopus and Brompton, and the folding bicycle manufacturer. All of these that they will be discussing, the two leaders would be understanding a very big shift away from Western alliance. This is now a Western and Eastern alliance that is very important to understand where the global order is going. My question to Dr. Nasser, as you were hearing Professor Shibli Islam and Norman, the rhetoric regarding Europe, regarding China, Greenland issue suddenly disappears. It is no longer there. And Iran is back on the table with the armada being in Persian waters, the Persian Sea. And you know that if war were to break out in the Strait of Hormuz, it would have a huge effect for the crude oil industry all across the globe. And I want to understand how you felt, and do you predict having a backing of this military doctrine, do you think that blocking of the Strait of Hormuz could have effects not only in that area but also in a nation like our country?
Of course, because you know, the Strait of Hormuz that controls a significant amount of crude oil being imported by other countries from the Iran in the worldwide, and China being the major stakeholders. To my understanding, this particular visit of the UK Premier on the invitation of Chinese Premier, it's not only the representation of UK. I think, to my understanding, this is a representation of the, as you have said, some Western allies who all are severely affected by the tariff, as the professor had been talking about, the tariff policy of the Donald Trump, particularly not the US, I should mention, his particular. Even I was talking to my friend in Canada, and he literally said, the friend, you know, many of the Canadian companies had to shut down because they were dependent on the USA import. So the export from Canada to USA significantly dropped down because of the tariff policy, and they're just neighbor of USA. So that is the situation in here. So this particular visit of the UK Premier is not only visit of a UK Prime Minister. I think it is the visit of the allies around the UK, number one. Number two, as you have said regarding the Greenland, Donald Trump had been talking about this Greenland for many years back. It is not a suddenly appeared in 2026 or 2025. It was his talking point for long before. But this time he has particularly aimed at the rare earth of the Greenland, and this particular visit is also related to that because geographically UK is near to Greenland. So any disturbance in Greenland will definitely going to have severe impact on UK also, militarily, strategically, or the economically, number one. Number two, Chinese has investment, as you have rightly said, in UK. At the same tune, Chinese has the huge investment in Greenland also, particularly in the field of rare earth. So they are not going to just leave it just like that if the Greenland is being attacked by the USA. So if it is so, this China also need the support of UK being the neighbor of Greenland. So there is a particular pattern, geopolitical new pattern is coming up to counter the sudden mindset of the President Donald Trump, as he is thinking that he can do and undo anything, and which is going to just destabilize the entire world order. So for that reason, I will not be surprised if the Russia, China, Iran and countries of that magnitude joins together to find out a way. You see, Donald Trump, he has imposed more and more tariff on India for importing crude oil from Russia. But could he stop it?
Absolutely
Nobody bothered him. Nobody. You impose your, I import from Russia. So I look for my interest. So that's how the world order is now going, probably beyond the hand of Donald Trump alone. Okay, and most important is that he is not backed up by his own people. As the professor had been telling, that there had been criticism from his own people also, own party, own his predecessors. So if a president is borderless regarding his own people, own party, own philosophy, he is contradicting every now and then.